Good morning. I think I'm live right now. This is, the wonderful thing about live streaming is you're not for sure exactly. Sometimes you can push a button and sometimes things can happen, and sometimes you push a button and sometimes they don't. That might be one of the inquiry questions we bring up. But welcome. Welcome to this edition, the 1st of February of Rise and Shine Sundays. I'm your host, Jamie Rich. I'm glad that you are with us. We have a very exciting broadcast put in store for you today. And we, as always, gather on Sundays, building a show around an inquiry. We're here because we want to be able to have a conversation about topics that matter. And we do that through a process where we just have a question. And one of the wonderful things about having a question is that it also invites you, the listeners, to be able to participate in that conversation. And so as we go throughout the session today, we will be welcoming your comments. If you're with us in the chat, you can let us know that you're there, and we can bring your comments into the show with you. Today's focus is specifically on what do you need right now? And when we were planning this particular episode, this question seemed to build from what we were talking about last week, where we were talking about how you could build a bridge while you're walking on it. Oftentimes, when we do focus on what we need right now, we begin to look around at what we don't have. And today I'd like to kind of invite us into a different conversation about, getting away from, when you talk about needs and what you need, of not seeing yourself as needy. So if you're constantly focused on what's missing in your life and you find yourself making lists for everything, about how you lack time, you want more money, you want more support, you want more certainty, we're going to be asking this question a little bit differently. What if the resources that you need right now are around you? What if there's skills that you haven't looked at? What if there's solutions right now? And no matter what the question that you have in front of you that you need, no matter how dramatic, if you can bring that back to what do you need right now by beginning to look around you, by taking an inventory of what you do have, wonderful things begin to emerge in your life. And oftentimes, when we get so caught up in overwhelm, we forget to focus on what's around us. So, around me this morning are two wonderful fellow travelers who are going to be joining in the discussion this morning. And we are looking at this particular question. And with me to my right is Sang. Good morning. Let me see here.
So sorry. User error, right? User error. It was me. Human error. My bad.
That's all right. This is why I love being live, because one of the things that we are unscripted and in the moment. And so as we are focusing on what we need right now, we're actually embodying it as we work through this particular episode. And also with me this morning is my co-host, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
So this topic really points out kind of a difference that people are looking at in their lives, which is, what if the idea of what do I have, what do I need right now, isn't based on what you don't have, but by looking around and taking an inventory about what you do have. And it is a really important switch for people to make. And like I said, I just wanted to kind of see how this is landing with either one of you, if you have some initial thoughts about getting us started.
Well, everybody loves a story.
Well, especially one from our storyteller, which is, you have so much lived wisdom to speak from. So please speak to this question.
So I want to say this. I get it, right? I totally understand, because I remember when my daughter was a freshman and my son was a senior. I remember sitting on the couch, right? I had got this great apartment. I have a great view. Like everything was great, right? But I'm sitting there and I looked around, and for me specifically, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be an old lady. My kids are never going to come see me. They're off doing their own thing. They don't need me anymore." Right? And then I remember sitting there, and it's crazy because I still have the picture. I was literally sitting there on the couch. I have these wedges on, right? And because I took a picture because I was like, this is a moment. I don't know what it was for, but it's a moment, right? And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's saying, look what you've done. Look what you have done. Like, and then I started with like what you were talking about, Jamie. What was around me? I started looking like they have a place to live. They have their own rooms. They have their own this. They get all these opportunities. I created this. They have a safe place to go. They have this. They have that, and then I was like, at that day, I said, I live a ridiculously amazing life. And from that day on, it's like things just like I kept saying that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I kept
Mm-hmm.
saying it, and it just kept happening. Now, not saying that that's just going to magically happen for everyone, because that is not how that works. Because I will also say that was like, I don't know, 10 years ago. Okay. So, so knowing that it's when you're busy, like what you're talking about, when you're busy, take a look around and go, what what do I want more of? Like, you want this busy. I think you were talking about it, and you have to remind me because my memory sometimes is like,
Yeah, that's all right. Keep going.
yeah,
What you're really speaking to saying is that we're shifting from this whole idea of scarcity. I mean, we're brilliant, aren't we, at identifying the absence of what we don't have, right?
it's always good.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think sometimes we get to be experts in identifying what we don't want, what we don't need, what we don't have, all of these um, resources that are not available to us. And that tends to flip us into this whole idea of reaching for external fixes. When you were in that situation, you know, it really takes a minute. Like I said, that's why I specifically framed this particular, like, what do you need
Mhm.
right now?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because if we ask that question is what do you need, oftentimes we go into this whole idea of identifying what's not there. But
Mhm.
if we bring everything back into the present moment, and no matter the situation that you're facing, what do you need right now?
Mhm.
Right? It takes us away from that illusion of the next thing. Right? Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I will also say, you know, the infamous saying, right? And I know everyone knows this. The infamous saying, start where you are.
Hmm.
I started on that couch.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm sitting on the couch, not that couch, but a couch. My son actually has that couch. Um, but you can just, that's what it means, right where you are. Like you would just stop and pause right where you are right now and just ask yourself and just pause and look around and take some time and to silence all the noise outside,
Well,
right?
we're actually going to invite people on that particular journey of what you're doing. I say, I love things that just
Here.
spontaneously emerge in the moment. The completely unscripted, you've already gave a prelude to one of the things that we're going to be doing today. Ray, when we go back to that struggle, I mean, do you see people, constantly staying in that scarcity mindset? Because no matter what happens to you, when all of a sudden there's something put in front of you, you think about what you like. Oh, I need something, and already you're instantly reaching for external fixes, right?
I think Sang brought up a really good example because she combined, or you combined successfully. Okay, you were in an experience where you were helping your two grown up children look at getting onto the next stage. So in the moment, you zoomed in and you zoomed out to say, well, what does it mean? What have I done? What's the cumulative effect of what's going on? So I don't know if I'm answering the question specifically, but in essence, we have to take the time to actually look at through both lenses, if you want to call it that, abundance and scarcity, not stick with just the one view, the one perspective. And the fact that Zhang saying basically just jumped into, well, look what I've done,
Yeah.
meant look at how things are all connected together.
Right. And that's going into then the space of gratitude. I know everybody hears
Yes.
it. Everybody goes into, like, I was literally just at a place, I will not tell you where I was, but I was just there this morning and I saw daily gratitude, right? If you just wrote down one gratitude a day, I will tell you this. My sister does this thing. I don't know. I can't remember how we started it, but my sister has the greatest things. She we did this thing at dinner, and at the end of the day at dinner, because my sister, they all try to eat together. I know my brother tries to eat with his family together, things like that. And we never really ate together. It was crazy. So just looking at that particular piece, but is what was your high today, right? And we can reword these, right? But figure out what works for you. What was your high today? What was your low today? And what are you grateful for today? Right? And it was a space where they could sit around the dinner table. They still do. They sit around the dinner table and they answer those questions. And if you don't want to answer, you don't have an answer, she says, it's okay. You don't have to answer. But everybody feels safe at the table to answer the question. And I did something very similar with my kids, is I created what I called the family circle. Right? And I think we were trying to talk about this a little bit, but the family circle was a place where my kids could come and talk to me and say whatever they needed to say respectfully and mindfully and no yelling. And they could share with me what they wanted and needed without them being chastised, without them being da 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 da. Now, granted, there are lots of things that happened before we got to the circle, okay? So don't get it twisted, because the circle was nice. Okay? But it was a piece of the puzzle, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So just being able to do that. But I do love that the threes, right? I would say just pick three. Like, what were you happy about today? What made you happy today? What's one thing? Just one thing is what I'm asking. What's one thing that made you happy today? What's one thing that made you sad today or angry, right? What are those feelings that are coming up? Whatever the top feeling that you're having today, if it's overwhelm, if it's shame, if it's anger, if it's
well, what you're doing beautifully, saying, is you're bringing the search back to the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just, speaking of which, coming back to the present moment, if you're just joining us in this present moment, we are discussing now for today, our inquiry is, what do you need right now? And we're not asking this question from a position of needy, we're asking this question of what do you need right now when you're beginning to address a situation? And one of the things that Sang was so beautifully illustrating with her story was the difference between the big need and the right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No matter where you're going, the big need in your life may be healing. The big need in your life may be a job. There may be all of these things that you could be reaching for, but the immediate need, right, might be accessible. And you can only do that. One of the things you did so brilliantly by asking your kids, what are you grateful for? And people, again, because we're so keen on, well, wait, I'm very good at being able to identify scarcity, what I don't have. Let me get back to the drama. But you can actually begin to participate in a rewiring of your brain and your neurology by pulling yourself into the present moment to do that inventory.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of people who have already chimed in the chat that they're grateful to be alive right now.
I'm not in the chat while because I want to stay focused on everybody here, but whatever's in the chat, I promise I will go back and read it after. I will do that. I promise.
Well,
a pinky promise. Okay, a pinky promise.
There you go. Well, good thing that I'm keeping my eye on the chat for us. But what we'd really like to invite those of you who are watching the show with us right now and in the room, we're talking a little bit about those times in our lives when we were aware of the bigger needs that we had in our lives. Whether or not that may have been, I need a job, I need more money, and what happens is that every time you raise that question and you throw the focus up and away from you, you are pushing away the solutions that may be available to you in the present moment.
So I'm going to invite, I love that you said that, but I'm going to have a different invitation for everyone.
Go right ahead.
Okay. My invitation is to I like to ask questions, but nobody's here for me other than you two, which I love to ask the specific question. But what do you do when you're stuck? What do you two do when you're stuck?
Ray?
Yes, Ray. Ray. It's like, sorry, it's like teaching.
When I'm stuck in a situation, I turn to Ray.
Yeah.
Yes, Ray.
Yeah,
You told me Ray. Got it. Ray, when you're stuck and you don't know where to start, what do you do first?
Well, that's a great question, because when I get stuck, I usually get frustrated.
Oh.
And it's sort of
What
like
happens?
stuck is like being frozen, is you don't know where to turn.
Okay.
But I think what takes me a little bit longer to connect with what you did with your kids by creating the family circle, or the circle. What I liked about it, it's an invitation, it's a space, and it's a ritual all wrapped into one, for abundance, to look at the good and the bad.
Sure.
And so I think what eventually creeps into, to answer your question, what eventually creeps into my mind is, if I'm stuck, did I miss anything, or am I not aware of what you did with the circle? Am I not aware of, well, am I really stuck? That there are good things happening that I may have, as Jamie's pointed out, that I've ignored, or that I have not included.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So keep going. I don't know if that qualifies as a good answer.
No, your answer is always a great answer. And what I will say is this is my invitation, because you said it right there for me, is, and what do I need and what do I want? You can have both.
Yes.
Because it's not like I just need this and I want that. We've done this thing where, like, we need this, I want this, but I can't have what I want, because why? I can have whatever I want. I'm a grown up. That's what my parents said. My parents said, when you're a grown up, you can do whatever you want to. And I was like, okay, then. Right. And now what we do? I guess I had to. Well, I don't know. But being able to determine, again, pausing. Okay. It's really, you've got slow down. Right. Those speed bumps, right? I want you to think about the kids that have to go on the crosswalks, because you have to slow down in the school zone, dude.
Right.
Right. Slow down. We're trying to teach here, right? Slow down on the highways. You guys get mad because there's speed bumps in the neighborhoods, because there's kids at play.
That's right.
So
you're getting an echo in the chat then from somebody who says, what happens? You want to stop and do something else.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or take a break. Then brain dump.
There's the word. This is where I need you. This is where I want everyone to start beginning to be mindful of the words that you use, right? Because she said, "Stop and do." And what is this? What do we learn that? Stop and go. Stop and eat. Stop and do this. So now it's like, we're speeding down the highway, and we're like, stop, we gotta eat. Stop, I gotta go to the bathroom, right? However, if we go, you know what? Let's just sit here for a second and think about what we really want to do. Let's just sit here and decide which direction, or what do I need to do right now that's going to get me one step closer.
That's right. That's right. So that time when you asked me, what do I do when I'm stuck?
Yeah.
One of the questions that,
I'm sorry, I did not.
No. I wanted to build on what you're saying. I like I said, this is a show all about what's emerging and what's happening in the moment. So I don't want to, because I think that's again where the magic happens.
Yes.
But for me, as I've gone through life, I used to be in the situation, and not to say that I'm faultless and I don't freeze, but oftentimes when I'm presented with a situation where I feel overwhelmed, I'm stuck, and I'm really there's something that I really need.
Mm-hmm.
What do I require? I do that thing. I take a pause. I ask myself, what do I require in this now moment to experience peace of mind?
Mm.
And what that does is, again, we're talking about this idea of when you have situations where you need the ability to just simply take an inventory to see what's available. Sometimes that happens mentally when you can say, well, what do I need to experience right now? What Sang was also, so brilliantly pointing out, when the whole idea of stop and do something else, that's the idea that we don't want to move. Well, we're going to stop. Now we're just going to keep compulsively going from next behavior to next behavior. We do want to be able to pause, get out of doing, get into just kind of being for a second. And what's really great about the questions that you were talking about asking your kids, right, is it pulls you out of that external reaching into your present awareness.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna take you guys way back, right? Are you guys ready?
Go right ahead.
It's the Wayback Machine.
Yes. Are you ready for this? Who remembers VCRs?
Oh, I read about them.
If you're a VCR person, remember that. What did you do with the VCR when you wanted to get up and go get something?
Pause it.
Pause.
Oh my gosh, what? And then what happened when TV came on and commercials came on? What happened?
You'd mute it.
Or fast forward.
You're like, oh my gosh, commercials on. Oh my gosh. Right? And then what do? Then we got the ability to just skip right over them, homies. Right? So let's go back to our VCR days. Okay? Pause. I'm not even Italian. Okay? It's clearly Asian. But pause. Right? Pause and come back to it. Oh, see, look at it. It's trying to get me out of here. Look at that.
Oh, it's the glitch.
We always embrace the glitch here on. And the interesting thing about this is I love how the universe conspires to create the opportunity for Sang to take a pause, not only in what she was saying, but in her transmission from here to there. So please continue.
Yes. So take a pause. Also, Jessica, who's in the chat, I believe, mentioned the other day, she was so clever. I don't know where she got it, but it was so clever. She was talking about how, when you put an address in the map, and I think I may have talked about this last week, right? When you put an address in the map and you're going along, because if you know our MapQuest days, hello, we had a map. Dora the Explorer, we had a map, okay? And then you go along and we've got to figure out where we're going, but if we make a wrong turn, we're going to be somewhere bad, right? Because we don't know where we're going. So back to the pause. Pause. Who cares about where you're going right now? You're not going anywhere because I need you to pause. I need you to pause and take inventory. When you take inventory, when you at stores, whoever's worked at stores before, I've worked at plenty of stores before. How long does it take to do darn inventory? Forever. And you've got to count and you got to be meticulous. But then for me, I'm going to ask you, when you're doing inventory in your own home, in your own bedroom, in your own bathroom, in your own closet, whatever that is, right? When you're looking around and say, what does this mean to me? Does this have meaning? Let's start there. And then we can leave the house, right? Let's focus on the rooms in the house first. My invitation is to look at what do you need and what do you want?
And again, Sang you're so wise at being able to kind of get people out of that scarcity spiral that you get into, right? When you're identifying things you don't, and then you get into this shift where you're in this thing where you're cataloging what you already have in your pack, right? What's there? What's in my network? What's in my space? What's around me? And that inventory is, you can be meticulous about it, but sometimes it only takes one shift for your brain to move from that spiral into that. And I don't usually use personal examples in this show, but I did want to share something because this might be something that some people have, and you can put this in the chat. I'm one of those people who have severe dental anxiety. And in the month of December, I had to have a couple of extractions done on some teeth. And, I'm one of those people who is, I can go into a situation. I can go to the dentist office. I'm sitting there with the surgeon. There's also, and my favorite thing that they did to me in this room is they hook you up to a monitor where they can hear your heart rate, so you can hear your own heart rate going doot
Wow.
doot 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 doot
Cool
doot.
that
Which there is nothing more calming than listening to your own anxious heart, right?
Oh.
And so I could see all of this happening. There was the glare of the fluorescent lights, the murmuring of the dent, the clanging of things. The world's most uncomfortable chair that I'm in. I could have gone on for a long time, you know doing that cataloging of what's not right in this moment,
Mhm, mhm,
and I was really good. And I was doing my level best, thinking, okay, how do I shift out? I even asked the question, that I was talking about earlier: what do I require in this now moment to experience peace of mind? And it
mhm,
was for this damn thing to be done, right? My mind was already at its limitation. So I wanted to offer what I did do in that moment that was helpful, because sometimes it just takes one little shift. And for me, it was feeling my toes in my shoes,
mm,
taking a breath and recognizing, wait a second, okay, I'm here. I can feel this. And then I began to do something that I'm going to encourage the listeners, or maybe even you guys in this room, if you want to do it. You kind of take a deep, take a inhale in and exhale out, and then literally you just look around the room to see what's there.
mhm,
As I look at I have gold walls here. I have a blue sky in front of me and the windows in front of me. I have
mhm,
two smiling faces that are near me. And as we do that process, you
mhm,
know, sometimes our mind won't let us, because it's, well, just like you were saying, I'm going to think a better thought, and you're back in this thing, you're in the spiral, just adding to it. But if you can pause and shift and let your body guide that,
mhm,
um, it really helped me, because I was like, okay, my toes feel okay in my shoes. Um, I can see the walls. I stared at the pattern on the dental technician's smock. But doing that, there's an actual neurological process, and I know there are people in our chat who have far more credentials to talk about this than I do. But again, from a lived experience, that idea of shifting into your body and being able to use a look around the room, an inventory of what's there, it pulls you out of that spiral.
mm. It does. It does. And here I want another invitation. I like handing out invitations. Is that I love that you said that you were in the dentist office and you focused on one thing. Again, it's power of one, okay? You focused on one thing, and then you also shared about your toes, right? So I want you to think back to a time now when you were a kid, when you were just free with your toes. Does anybody remember what that was? Swinging, right? Swinging. Who was unhappy swinging? Right? If anybody was unhappy swinging, let's talk, right? I want to talk.
Mhm.
I want to talk to you, right? Because I wanted to jump out of it. I was like, yeah, I can swing, and I wanted to go really high, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. But then people started doing astronomical tricks, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm out of here. That's not fun for me anymore,
Yep.
right? So
And,
when it's no longer fun, this is something I would tell my children, especially my daughter, right? When it's no longer fun, we don't do it.
right. I know there's some new people who are joining us. We're having a conversation today about what do you need right now? And we're having a discussion based on some of the ideas that we do to remind ourselves that when we get into situations where we're talking about what we need, it often takes us outside ourselves. It gets us caught into a spiral of what we don't have. We begin to grab for things. And what we're inviting people to do today is to take an inventory of what you do have. Even though there may be some big needs in your life, there are an amazing set of tools and resources that you do have. And we are lucky to have these tools and resources in with us in the chat, but we're also We also have a lot of wonderful people who are participating with us through chat in the stream. Um, Oops, let me just show. I want to show one of the things that Stacy said was that if you can move out of your brain mind and into your body mind, sometimes that shift, even even when you cannot think of something, just like Sang was saying, you can remember the felt sense in your toes of what it felt like, and suddenly you're no longer in the spiral. I haven't cured the situation that I really want to get out of this damn dental chair, but my body and my neurology have already shifted to what's available to me right now. That wonderful, well, at least I can wiggle my toes, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Also,
and go
I
ahead.
love
I didn't,
I love that that Stacy mentioned 54321 in the chat. So if you we'll talk about that in a minute, but I love that piece. And yeah, just being able to what you were talking about, Jamie, being able to just be and sit and go, what? Just actually, it's not even that. It's just pause. Like, just take a break.
right.
Everybody's so busy because we're taught that we have to be busy all the time.
Yeah.
So
Well,
naturally, and when we're taught that, if we think about teaching goes into our brain, and then we must slow down. Just slow down.
I love what Jessica put in the chat as well. That she was looking at this little wooden tooth on the windowsill that was smiling and had chubby cheeks, and imagining what it might be saying, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a really great little thing for you to do for yourself. Because again, the heaviness of the situations that you can get into. Because the one thing when you ask yourself a question, "What do I need right now?" You have that. We all do that tendency to slip into neediness, and once you've identified and locked yourself into somebody who's needy, I mean, we all know what we're like when we're needy. You walk around being needy, you're carrying that energy with you. But what shifts you out of it, right? Is being able to sometimes laugh at yourself, see a possibility there. And I see a smile on your face saying, so I know something emerged. What was that?
I love that that you know this, Jamie. Is that remember last week I said now if I say remember last week, you're gonna have to go back and listen because I
Ah,
hope that I know what I said last week, but it's it's not always verbatim. Okay. Is that and see now you made me lose my thought, Jamie. Like where did it go?
It'll come back.
Where did
While
it
you're thinking, while it's emerging, we'll call it back. Ray, was there something else that you wanted to
oh,
offer in that?
I just love connecting the comments
oh
in the
I
chat with what Sang is doing is to create these opportunities for pauses. And there's all kinds. And what's fun is like you just created one for the dentist's office. Sang has created one for any situation. Think about what's the last time you felt your toes in the swing or whatever. But I think that's the bridge. I think from
Mhm.
abundance to scarcity is take the pause, create the space, and then move on to knowing that
Pause and
pause and
pause
so
and create.
yes.
Pause
Is that
and
what you wanted to continue with, or was there something else that emerged?
that is not. There was something about what you said. So I'm going to trickle back just for a second, because how many of you, and this is rhetorical, but I'm going to ask the two of you right here. How many of you? Let's see. Here it is. I can't even talk. Jamie, have you ever said to yourself, "I'm so needy. I feel needy"? Ray,
Sure,
have you said that to yourself?
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. What does that mean when you say that to yourself? Either one of
Uh,
you, whoever wants to go.
Sort of feeling that I can't do anything about it is that I've focused totally on my need, but not understanding that there's another choice.
Yeah. What about you, Jamie?
Well, I think the same thing. I've already put myself into a silo that I can't get out of, right? It's like I slipped into a costume and I'm going to play the needy person, right? I'm going to act as if I was that needy person, right?
You know how much I love it here? So much. Okay. So much. So I hope the two of you know that I love you so much. Okay. So I want to share something. Both of you said some very key things. I feel this way. I feel needy, right? Defining what needy is then going to help you figure out what is even needy.
Yeah.
And who said I was needy?
Yeah.
I did. Right. And then because Jamie said, I am. What are we? I am. What are we talking about? What do you hear when you think of I am out in the world? It's affirmations, correct?
Mhm.
So if you said, I am needy, what are you?
Needy, right.
Needy.
You've
You
defined yourself.
become
You've
needy.
created it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then if you think you're needy, you then think that other people think you're needy. So then you give off the energy that you're needy, but
Mhm.
you're really not needy. You're spiraling, as you guys call it.
Right. Well, what I and I really appreciate that shift that you're inviting people on because,
You're frozen.
go ahead.
There you go. No, you were frozen. Like I saw you
Was
looking
I?
into the lights.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. One of the things that I do want to make sure that I don't want to make this all about the mental journey that what we can shift out of, because I do think that part of what do you need right now requires, when you do that inquiry, to look at the tools that you've been carrying, right? Oftentimes we are so unaware of what our gifts, what our skills, what our talents, the resources that we do have. One of the things that I for many years I worked at a church, and as you know, people when they're out of work, right? They're needing a job, they need money, they have all these. I'm looking for a job. I don't think there's anything more heavy than um, living in a culture where our worth is identified by how
Yeah.
much money we're able to bring in. What's your paycheck? We even talk about living paycheck to paycheck. The onus to have a job builds in with so many things that we have to do something. You can't just simply be, well, I can't be this right now. I have to be getting a job. I have to do something, right? So
Mhm.
um, it used to really annoy me and pain me when I would hear people focusing on the fact that they didn't have a job and they couldn't find. But when you switch that paradigm, right? I realize that you do not have a job. We can sit there and talk about all you can become brilliant at not having a job. But if we instead focused on what tools are you carrying? What resources do you have? What are you able to look around and see that you can do? And if you can focus on that, I, re- I remember at a time in my life, I'm a library geek. I'm one of those people. Whenever I would feel
Me too.
lost as a child, I would go to the library because I was surrounded by so much potential. And I remember there was a time when I was living in Dallas, Texas. I didn't have a job. I actually was collecting unemployment for the first time in my life. And I remember just going to sit in the library around the books of the things that I wanted to do. And I would just sit there and I would say, all right, you know, I'm just going to place myself in this container of possibility, right? And from then, I could find out what are the tools that I've been carrying. And um, I don't know if anyone in the chat has some thoughts about that, or if you guys have some time to think about that. But when you are saying I'm unemployed, I don't have a worth, I don't have a job, I don't have a paycheck, my first words, I want you to know you are infinitely resourceful. You are infinitely, regardless of whether or not you have a job, you are eminently and importantly resourceful. So
Mhm.
I'll land with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's absolutely true. And I will tell you, everything that you need is within you. I know everyone's like, oh, that's so fluffy. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It is, I promise, pinky promise. And it's it's literally just sitting there and taking it all in. That's the only thing I want you to don't put out, so to speak. Okay. Take it all in, take in everything, and then realize that it all started from a place of love. It all started from a place of love, and that's important. Love is
Right.
important. That's how I got here, right? That's how I
Right.
got to Jamie through love. I met Ray through love, right? I mean, I got here because of Stacy and Jessica and RJ, and You know what I mean? Wouldn't be on the Breakthrough Show Network without Jessica for sure. Right. I wouldn't have known Jessica without meeting Stacy. I wouldn't have met Stacy I wouldn't have met Jamie without meeting Stacy, who came to where we had distance. You know what I mean? So,
the
but
love continues. The love
yes,
continues.
so it all started from a place of love. And I want to say this right now, and I've been saying it with Jessica all week, is I love it here. Right. And I do, because when I tell you that back on sitting on that couch, however many years ago, I literally believed that I truly live a ridiculously amazing life. And I do. I say that to this day. Right. And you can too. I know you can.
Right.
And I'm here to help you do that. All of you,
Right.
whoever's listening, I want to help them do that. And so that's why I'm here. And because, well, other than the two of you asked me to be, I didn't even.
But what you're doing, saying again, what you're so magically doing is you're beginning to not only identify the resources that you have by naming the people, you're creating them by weaving them together and linking them. You're creating a fabric, a tapestry, that connects you and serves you. It's so in other words, those new patterns get connected, and all that requires, again, I wanted to do a little bit of a build on one of the comments that, Jessica initially said to the chat that words have power, right? And another comment that she brought up, which was shifting the focus of what we have already greatly reduces stress, panic, and anxiety. And what's critical in that sentence is the focus, right? Shifting the focus. That hasn't changed the fact that you don't have a job. It hasn't changed that you're not, if you've been looking for a relationship, you don't have it. But we're shifting the focus to what we already have greatly reduces that energetic wave that we send out literally in our own body. I keep doing this because, and again, I'm hopeful that there's someone in the chat who can actually tell me exactly what the neurology of this is. But as the brain signals and everything move back down this direction, you're changing the neurology. By shifting the focus, you're switching that from the stress response, from the looking to external sources, back into this moment of your own agency in your own present moment. So, let's see.
And I'm going to say this. So it starts small, right?
Yeah.
Anybody, Jamie, I know you don't really know me like that yet. And Ray, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you in person, but one day. But Stacy knows, and I think Jessica knows, I know they're both in the chat, is I love Post-it notes, right? Like Post-it notes are my favorite. And I would tell people all the time that if you just give me Post-it notes and pen and Sharpies, I am golden, right? And so for my birthday last year, Pastor Dawn, actually, that I talked about last week too, Pastor Dawn bought me a mess ton of Post-it notes in every color, right? And literally, it took me back to when I wrote notes to my kids in their lunch boxes. Well, yes, we're going to get to that one day. But I wrote little notes in lunch boxes, right? Handwritten notes have always been my favorite. And knowing that about yourself and figuring out what is it that I need, what's a small thing in your world that makes you happy? What's a tiny thing that makes you happy? One tiny thing that could just shift. And that's what we were talking about earlier, Jamie, when you said, if you just look around and find one thing like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love flowers. I want them.
Right.
Right. To where I said, I'm having Fresh Flower Friday. So I've been going to get fresh flowers every Friday. And then on the weekends, I'll go to the farmer's market over at River Market and get fresh flowers from the it's time to go. No, I'm just kidding. And I get them from this beautiful Vietnamese girl who just makes the most beautiful arrangements on the planet. Okay. And
so again, saying you continue to do exactly, I feel like we have this subconscious thing that works is in terms of how we're kind of structuring the show. As the stories that you're sharing, they really just kind of move us through where we wanted to go on this journey. Yeah. Because it's part of it is moving from what you think to what is true, right? So I'll go back to the job analogy, right? Which is that, the mind tells you I need a job. The reality is I need to use the skills that I have, right? The illusion is I want more time. The reality is I need to stop thinking about the things that I don't have. You know, by inventing something called Fresh Flower Fridays, right? Or feel my toes at the dentist, moment, right?
Yes.
You've
Yeah.
actually moved from out of this thinking trap, the spiral, into what is true. Because again, just as it was when we asked people to kind of look around in their room,
Uh-huh.
see what's in their space, that's true. It's
Facts.
and the gold walls, this really comfortable chair, the fact that I can wiggle my toes as I'm sitting right here is
Yeah.
true. And it takes me away from what I think. It doesn't necessarily end the bigger thing that I'm looking for,
Sure.
but that it puts us back into that, well, wait, what is it that I am able to do in this moment? What is accessible to me? And
Mhm.
I cannot tell you what a difference it's made in my own life. And uh, it's really, really important that we honor that,
Mhm.
because we can get so convinced, like you were saying, we can say, I am this, I am that, I am that. We can, and um, the current world that we live in really wants us to be able to be really good problem solvers, right? And be able to identify what's not working. And so we're brilliant at identifying what we don't have. And we are really, really deficient in being able to honor what we do have, because we've been taught and conditioned that, well, that can't be of use to me, or I need to look outside to make that determination. Ray, it
Yeah.
looks like you had something you wanted to add to that.
Oh no, I was just taking it all in. Is I was just thinking about what you both have shared is really what's actually happening in a space like this. It is the embodiment of thinking being shared and ideas being traded back and forth and connected. And I think that's the magic. Is that I was looking in the chat, and it's the magic of the relational exchange,
Hmm.
Mhm.
as opposed to what scarcity is about, is a transactional mentality. Is I need to get something. And what
Mhm.
Sang's been sharing, and you too, Jamie, is about what we actually have all along,
Mhm.
what we can share, and you added the magic word create, Sang. That's the thing, is that we have that power. We don't have to wait on somebody else to solve it, or to say, well, this is what you need to fix.
Right.
No, no, it's within us.
Yeah, that inventory creates clarity. And as I was saying before, that clarity creates agency, and it just begins to, so just like Sang said, what do I want more of? Right. I want more flowers in my life. Right.
Yeah.
Which shifted her completely out of the whole idea of need. And you don't need everything. Right. You just need to know what you're working with. Right. And what you're able to sort of bring into that existence. So, um, uh, I'm, as I said, I'm always in awe and gobsmacked. Any other cliches you want to toss out at this moment, at what emerges, based on just simply having an inquiry. And if those of you in the chat have anything that you wanted to us to kind of take another little bit of look at as we talk about, this would be me turning back to you to simply say, what do you need right now that we have not talked about? Is there something that you feel that when you think about this subject of the idea of moving from, the idea of, well, wait, what, I need a lot of things. I don't have this, I don't have that. And I'm kind of in that spiral into this idea of doing an inventory to see what is around you. What have I overlooked? What have I minimized? What have I not recognized? Because when we take that inventory of what's here, it switches us. So again, we've actually been able to sort of demonstrate that in this episode, right? I love. I had a friend catch this on a replay, and she said, "Well, I can't believe you're not scripting this."
Why?
Well, that's the whole point of this show, you know.
Why? It's not scripted, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm. And we are here really to sort of embody we want to put out, which is the joy of the discovery of all of that collectively. And as Ray has said, to see what emerges, because now it is a collective thing. Um, here's a thought to share. We'll just see in the moment. One thing I've done is to examine the fear that comes up from time to time about asking for or expressing what I need in any given moment. It's a fun rabbit hole to ask, where's the fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's what's originated, I think. It's there it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
nope.
Oh,
Oh,
just
yeah. Sorry, I did.
yeah.
Yeah, there we have to scroll
Scrolls.
down.
It
I'm
scrolls.
running around to ask where the fear originated.
I have a
Right.
Yeah.
scroll here. Thanks,
I
RJ.
tell you. See the things that emerge when old man clicks on things on here.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
and
leave it up to you old people to be clicking around.
there you go. This brings back something that Sang touched on briefly, and we actually, I think, touched on this in an episode a while back, which is, who does this belong to?
Sure. Oh,
Oftentimes, you realize that when you look at fears, a lot of those fears were instilled in you. Um, when I can remember the one time when I was growing up as a child, when my mom's credit card came back declined. I'm sure you've all seen that famous moment in Terms of Endearment when, you know, the charge card gets declined and whatever.
what's
Um,
it?
and the trauma of that moment as a kid when I was watching that, I didn't understand it, right? And so I sometimes had carried a fear in those situations, right? And the irony, and I will show you how I kind of turned that around. The comedian Lily Tomlin, um, you know, made this wonderful comment one time when after somebody swiped her credit card through, she says, "I worry that the message will come back, kill her at once."
Why?
This was the old days when messages used to come back that way. And every time I sometimes share that with clerks when they're working, and I
Yeah,
said, I'm a little worried that the message is going to come back, kill him at once. And some of them will kind of give me a strange look, but every now and then somebody will just kind of smile and they'll go, "Oh, that's great. I'd never heard that one before." But it's sometimes taking a message and recognizing that particular fear didn't
sure.
belong to me. It got imprinted on me and I could have carried it forward. But just
Mhm.
like we said, if you can flip it,
Yeah,
ask who does it belong to,
yeah.
and maybe find a different way to move it, it
Hmm.
can happen. So,
Yes. So I'm gonna share. I have one more story for. I think. I think.
all right.
But thank you. Okay, what was the name of that movie? Because I don't think I've never seen
Terms
that
of
one.
Endearment.
Terms of
Wonderful,
Endearment.
wonderful movie with Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger, but it's a tearjerker. So have a box of Kleenex.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm not a movie watcher, so I've never seen that. So okay, I will have to go watch it. But one of the things that you were saying was, um, remind me what you said about about being. Oh, where's the problem? Is that what you said? Something like
mhm.
that.
Who does it belong to? Where did the problem originate?
And so I want you to. I want so anybody who's listening, and you may hear this, you may not, but has anybody heard the infamous phrase, am I the problem?"
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, and then you're like, "Are you asking?" And my question was, "Are you
Is that a
asking
rhetorical question?
rhetorical, or do you want me to tell you the truth?" And what did Jack Nicholson say? You can't handle the truth. There's only certain things that I know about movies. I know it's very weird, but I only know I only know quotes from movies. It's very fascinating how my brain works. But you can't handle the truth, because then I was like, do you want me to answer the question for real or for fake? Right? Because and so it's listening to what's going on. And then I want to share this last thing. Yesterday I was with a photographer and I'm in the studio. And as I'm in the studio, I'm looking at the mirror, right? And it says stand broken. I was like, this needs an is in the middle. Like somebody needs to put an is in here, right? And they just laughed it off. It was cool though. I understand because I understand words and I understand the power of words, right? And so I'm just here to kind of give one little tweak to a word, because what I said was, as a woman who's standing in this mirror, I see stand broken, And if I'm looking in the mirror and that's what I'm reading, why would I want to stand there broken?
Yes.
The stand is broken. Can we go back to English fundamentals, please? Right? The stand is broken. Where did we start abbreviating stand broken? No, I don't want to stand broken. Thank you very much. I'd like to stand unbroken. Okay. And so going back to who's the problem, are you the problem or are you not the problem? But it all starts with you, but you're not a problem. It's figuring out what is the problem. And the is out there, but it starts right here. See all the, it's very fascinating what I just said. Sometimes I forget what I say too. Okay. But because it just flows out. But start here. And the thing is, the truth, you have to be truthful to yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. And there was a question that came up a couple of weeks ago. And I think Jessica, if some of you may have heard me say it, and it was the question. Let me find it because I don't like to say things that are not verbatim. And I learned it. There was a lady I was watching on YouTube, and she asked a question, and the question was, if somebody were following you around all day for 2 weeks, would they think you're doing what it takes to get what you want? And I sat there. Remember, I think last week I talked about something, but I sat there and I go, nope, absolutely not. Like literally, it didn't even take me that long to go, absolutely. Like I literally went, that, nope, can't, nope, it's false. False news for me.
There you go. There
Right?
you go.
So it was not true. It is false. And so then I had to sit here and go, well, what do I need to do? And so what did I do? What did I do, guys? Paused.
Mm-hmm. And again, taking that pause allows us to kind of switch from out of that whole idea of looking outside of ourselves of what we don't have, begins to kind of get us to check back in to what we do have. And what we do have right now is that we do have the end of the show, the end of this time of we're gathering together. And it has been, a wonderful thing to sort of sit with the two of you, and we kind of light up what's emerging. And then when we focus on this question that we've asked for the day, what do you need right now? The most important thing is to take that pause, right? And when you take that pause, you can realize in that moment you have enough to take the next simple step, right? Because you begin by working with what you have, right? And what we have are two. What I have right now are two wonderful companions on this particular journey that we've done today. Some wonderful people in the chat. We want to invite. I feel like the Beverly Hillbillies. I'll invite you all back next week, right? To have a heap and help in our hospitality.
I love the Beverly Hillbillies. Come back to here and like, say the cement pond.
The original series.
Listen, I love a cement pond. Okay, yeah, black and white. I love the black and white. Okay, y'all might not think that I'm this old. Okay, but I am like 900 years old. I'm older than Jamie. He doesn't know. But yes, black and white. Just have fun. I can't wait to go and hang out at the cement pond, to be honest.
I hear you. Well, we are grateful again for you all joining us to see what does light up on Rise and Shine Sundays as we light up what's emerging. We will be back here at the same time next week. Coming up next on the Breakthrough Show Network is Spirit Sundays. My name is Jamie Rich, and I'm grateful to have had the presence of the lovely storyteller Sang D and the always present and available Ray Gio. And we'll be back here next week. So thanks to you all. Continue lighting up as you go through your week.